Honey, where are my socks? Honey, where are my socks? Honey, where...
Daddy, would you like some sausage? Daddy, would you like...
Fucker! You fucker! Fucker! Oh!
Huh? What the f...
Hello again, everyone. This is Bionic Slime. I'm your online voice for reviews of your choice, and this is another installment of BS Reviews. Today, I'll be reviewing a adaptation film based on one of the most famous and classic children's books of all time, one that even I have read and remembered as a child. The book was written by Maurice Sendak, and the book is none other than Where the Wild Things Are. This has been a film that a lot of people have been waiting a long time to see brought to a film, and most were very worried, including myself, as to just how you could really create this film with its unique imaginary vision and do the story justice. But after seeing the film, I have to say it probably did the book even more justice and beyond. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. As I said, Where the Wild Things Are is what I'll be reviewing today. It was directed by Spike Jonze. It was written by Spike Jonze and Dave Eggers. It was brought to you by Warner Brothers Pictures. And it stars Max Records as Max, Catherine Keener as Max's mom, James Gandolfini as the voice of Carol, Catherine O'Hara as Judith, Forrest Whitaker as Ira, Chris Cooper as Douglas, and Lauren Ambrose as KW. The plot of Where the Wild Things Are. Where the Wild Things Are follows the adventures of a young boy known as Max, who is very imaginative, very adventurous, and likes to dress up in a weird wolf costume that likes to play around, and he doesn't have any friends, so he basically plays by himself a lot. And when he tries to play with his mom, he gets a little out of hand and ends up running away from his mother and running off into the woods, where he has a boat that he just finds mysteriously and takes it across the water. He falls asleep during his little boat trip, and he wakes up. He's in a strange, weird, island-like land that is populated by large, hairy monsters that are arguing about the direction that they're going in. And when they discover Max, he proclaims himself a king with all sorts of powers. Not really knowing much about the kid, the monsters believe it and decide to make him their king. And ever since then, Max has just done nothing but play around with the monsters, having fun, playing games, and just enjoying himself with his new friends, finally being able to be a free-spirited child, until Max slowly starts to realize the problems of being a fake king to a real group of monsters. Review the plot. This is probably the closest thing I could say to a pure-hearted kid's story. This is basically all about Max. It is the closest I've ever seen a movie that would get to it, say this is how a child really does act, or how a child really would act in this situation. It's a very simple yet understanding story where basically he just wants to be free as a kid. And there are times when you watch the movie where you think back to when you were a child and thought, you wanted to do that. You wanted to be as free and as just enjoy life as much as you can. And even though the film does have some more serious elements, I think this free-spirited kid thing is what the real heart of the story is. But I think by mixing the more serious elements, like how Max realizes just how hard it is being king and trying to teach these monsters what he knows and what he thinks is right, it proves a lot of challenges. And I think it's a really good way of presenting a moral message, but not make it seem too, tacked on, so obvious. And above all else, it really makes it work. It's just the relationship with the monsters and Max, and it works beautifully here. I mean, for an 8-page book for a story, it's amazing that you can make such a incredible film that attaches that bond of childhood and childhood friends so beautifully and put it on the screen. It's a great visual and literal representation of what it means to be a child. Review the characters. I have got to say this. I have never seen a storybook's characters brought to life so beautifully than this film. They look real. I mean, they look freaking like they jump off the page. I have never seen a movie that has brought characters to life so perfectly and accurately. It's mesmerizing. The look and design of the monsters is absolutely beautiful. I mean, they look like they're right there with you. They don't look fake. They don't look cheap. They don't look, CGI tacked up. They look magnificent, and I absolutely applaud them for giving such a mesmerizing, special effects setup that makes these monsters just look so badass. Max Records, who plays Max, ironic, isn't it? He does a great job. He basically plays a kid, and he does it extremely well here. I've seen child actors before, and usually child actors tend to act like they're smarter than they actually are, and it makes kind of no sense how certain 10-year-olds or 12-year-olds in films, automatically know so much, and they're such smartasses. Whereas here, he acts just like a kid would. His attitudes, his demeanor, his temper tantrums, it all acts like what a real wild child would be, and I like that. I thought for a kid, he did a magnificent job just being a kid. The monsters were all just great. I particularly thought the best, and as he should be, was James Gandolfini as Carol. He's the idolizing monster, the iconic one that everyone sees, and I just thought he was great in here. He played a really good range of emotions with the character. I particularly thought his interaction with the character of KW, voiced by Lauren Ambrose, was beautifully brought together. You get some really nice interaction with them, and the voices just gave them such charm, such smart personality quirks, and it's really great because this movie has a quirky little sense of humor, and the monsters just make it all seem funnier with their bizarre appearances. Chris Cooper was very good as Douglas. Forrest Whitaker, I almost didn't even recognize him as Ira. Catherine O'Hara was very, very good as Judith. Another one that probably people tend to forget about was Paul Dano as Alexander. He's a goat-like monster who I think gave a really good performance here that not many people, I think, would appreciate as much unless you're watching the character intently. And he gave some really good performances. You've got a lot of strong voice actors here, as well as normal actors. Catherine Keener, though short on screen as she is, was very good as the mom. But really, let's just be honest, the stars are the monsters. And as I said before, they were brought to life beautifully and vocally by the actors and the special effects. Great cast. I mean, if you're going to have a movie following a bunch of monsters, beating the shit out of each other and playing around like Royal Rumble, you have to make them interesting to watch. Review of the cinematography and music. Music was beautiful. Very good stuff. It was perfect. It just set the mood just right. You felt right into this world, like it sunk right in. Very appropriate, very fitting, very childlike fantasy. The visuals were absolutely mesmerizing. I mean, the camera work just really enhances the film to degrees that you couldn't even imagine. Like I said, it really looks like they brought this storybook together to life, just to full 3D vivid life. And the visuals with all the buildings they create, with the surroundings the monsters live in, the way the trees are, the shots with the sunlight, it just looks so fantastic. You can't even begin to imagine what it looks like. You have to see it on screen just to witness the full awesome beauty that this film is clearly trying to represent. It's like a living painting. Flaws about the film. As magnificent as this movie is, there were a couple things that I had a bit of a problem with. For one thing, shocking as this may be, not everyone has read or remembers this book inside and out. So when you get to the end and they don't really explain the rules of just what exactly was happening with Max and his monsters. They don't really explain clearly if this is real, if this is in his head, was it an alternate dimension, was it a dream? I mean, the book makes it clear, as I've been told by others, but still, you have to take into account that not everyone has read this and just try to maybe explain a little more in the film because it may leave a couple people like me a little confused by that. Another thing that's a problem is that this film is a kid's film and it does have a message, but the message does get kind of ignored from time to time, and it's kind of contradicts itself because I'll be flat out honest, Max is kind of a pain in the ass in the beginning of the film, and supposedly that's how he is in the book. But when you see him in this world, you feel like there's supposed to be some kind of message where he learns that he can't always act that way, but it never really comes. And I think this film just relies too much on the fact being it's a kid's wet dream and not enough about telling a story that has a good point. I mean, there is a point in there, but I think it got a little too buried amongst the rumpusing and fun and whatnot. Final wrap-up, Where the Wild Things Are is by no means an absolute 100% perfect film. I felt the confusion around the whole rules about this weird universe needed to be explained just a little bit more. I think that the message kind of got muddled a bit under the whole free-spirited kid thing, but this is just a fantastic movie. It's beautifully brought to life in every possible way. You've got great voice actors for the monsters. James Gandolfini was wonderful as Carol. The visuals look like they come straight out of the storybook. Max Schreckers was excellent as the kid Max. Good music, good, brilliant cinematography. The writing was clever and deep and not just too simple or too stupid for kids or adults. This movie is just great in every possible aspect of it. It is a true storybook masterpiece brought to life. I give Where the Wild Things Are 4 stars out of 5 stars. Well, that's all for now. This has been Bionic Slime for BS Reviews. I'm your online voice for reviews of your choice. Bye for now.